All right, appreciate everyone joining us for Drew Allar's call today. Please raise your hand if you have a question. We'll try to get to as many questions as we can. Let's get started with Tyler Donahue, 247. Go ahead.
Thanks, Greg, and thank you, Drew. Good morning. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing well. Last year, big talk of the spring camp was kind of trying to get acclimated with Andy's offense. Now that you have that year and a season under your belt, how different has this spring preparation and spring camp been for you as a quarterback and for the offense overall?
I mean, yeah, it's been a lot different just because we had that year under our belt. And, I think for us as offensive skills, specifically with receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks, and running backs, it really started for us in the winter with the routes on air. I thought we had a really good plan working with Coach Losi and the strength staff, and also, Coach Hagens and the receiver coaches, Danny, Coach K, and Coach Franklin, of really having a thought out plan of what to attack during the winter cycle to prepare us going into this cycle of spring ball. But I think we've done a really good job of that so far, and I think we're a lot farther ahead than what we were last year, obviously, just because of again having that another year with Coach K, and we're doing a lot more stuff, which I'm really enjoying, and I know a lot of other guys are enjoying. We're building off the success that we had last year, but also correcting the things that that we saw on tape from last year that we need to make corrections to.
Let's go to Rich Garcella and then Greg Pickle. You're on deck.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning, Drew. Hey, Drew, we haven't had a chance to speak to you since several of your teammates also decided to return this year. And I was just wondering, what did that mean to you to see those classmates make that decision, specifically Nick and Fat, their return? What does it mean to the team? What does it mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I was really excited just because of the players they are, and I know how much they meant for us as a team last year. But honestly, more importantly, like I was more excited to spend another year with them, just because I would consider them like pretty good friends of mine on the team. And they're really fun to be around. Now it's going to be year four with all of us together, obviously enrolling together as well mid-year. So it's been a fast 4 years, I would say, but I'm just glad to get to spend another year with them just because of their potential and all they have achieved throughout their career, but what they've been working towards this offseason so far.
Let's go to Greg Pickle and then Johnny McGonigal. You're on deck.
Morning, Drew. Thanks for your time.
Yep, no problem.
Drew, you mentioned obviously enrolling as a mid-year guy when you first got here, so you're in your fourth spring now. I'm just curious, as you look back over the years, what have you been able to gain this year based on everything you've learned that maybe you didn't know about in the past?
I mean, yeah, I think, for me, it's all about the process and finding different ways to get better. And I think at this point in my career, like I'm very self-reflective, and very honest with myself. And I think, that the coaches do a great job with us, giving us goals for each practice, 1% goals for each practice. And that has really helped me a ton because, I'm at the point in my career where, I know the offense pretty much inside and out. And I'm able to teach it to other guys, but really refining my craft and trying to become the best player I can possible for this team is where I'm at in my career right now. So I'm just trying to find every little thing that I can improve on, from now until the end of spring ball, and then building off that into the summer and then into fall camp.
Let's go to Johnny McGonigal and then Seth Engel.
Hey, Drew, thanks for your time. Much appreciated as always. We talked to Pat Kraft a couple months ago, and he said that it was not a secret that you guys would be looking at, wide receiver help in the spring transfer portal. And I know there's some things you can't get into, but generally, what's a portal recruiting weekend like for you? And kind of what's your pitch or sell, or how do you approach, possible wide receivers coming into the program during this time?
I mean, yeah, for me, I mean, I don't think I'm allowed to dive into that, but for me, like the receivers have done a really good job throughout this spring. I think, Kyron and Devontae have been really good additions, not only as players, but I think they fit that room really well as people. They're very fun to be around, and they mesh together with that whole receiving room. And that receiving room has really taken a step forward. It's been cool to see, guys that I've been here with for a little bit now, taking the next step in their progressions, but also seeing the young receivers, the guys that were here last year as the true freshmen, but also, the three mid-years that we have. They've done a really good job, and I give a lot of credit to, Coach K, Coach Hagens, and Coach Franklin of really, providing that room with a lot of opportunity and just giving them chances to, improve themselves and also prove themselves throughout this spring so far. And they've taken a huge step forward. So I'm just really excited about that room and where they're at right now and where I see them going.
Let's go to Seth Engel and then Neil Riddell.
Hey, Drew, thanks for the time. I was hoping if you could, excuse me, I was hoping if you could maybe walk us through that week after the Orange Bowl, what that experience was like, and then eventually getting back to football, how exactly you did that.
Yeah, I mean that it was a long week for sure. Just with how everything happened. Just a lot of stuff that, was out of my control, and I was just not in a good state for that week after. But honestly, once I stepped back in the weight room for this season, whenever that the 2 or 3 weeks after that game, I was really able to flush it at that point because I had something to really look forward to it and build off of. So as soon as I really stepped in that weight room for that first time with that first lift group of this cycle, like that's when everything started to click for me again, and just kind of flushing all of that stuff from the past, but definitely learning from it.
Let's go to Neil Riddell and then Mark Wogenrich.
Hey, Drew, just wondering how you look at the big picture for yourself and the team. I mean, it seems you guys have been really close, kind of on the cusp in the last year. How do you see it and just getting over that next hump?
I mean, yeah, it comes down to like one or two plays a game. It's a handful of plays throughout a game that can get us to the position that we want to be in. Because I mean, I think we saw it last year. It's not we don't have a shortage of talent on our team, that's for sure. And obviously we have a great coaching staff. So it comes down to execution at the end of the day and handling those one moment calls, like what we say on offense, and just making those things, making those corrections, and not letting the game come to us. Talking for me specifically in that point, but like just trying to right now uncover everything that we can, so when those moments come in the season, like we've already been there before, and it's kind of like second nature, and we're not in that like it's not unfamiliar territory for us.
Let's go to Wogie, followed by Daniel Gallen.
Hey, Drew, thanks. Appreciate it. I wanted to go back to the question you answered about the week after the Orange Bowl. I talked a little bit with Brad Mandler, and he said you told him that you planned to take some time off but got bored. What is that? I guess, what were those moments like for you? What is time off like for you? What made you bored?
Uh, yeah, time off for me is, I mean, it's good. I have to force myself to, leave the facility sometimes and really take downtime. I guess it's just how I've always been wired. Like when I get extensive off time, I just don't know what to do, because usually I'm a person of routine, and when I get out of a routine, it's hard for me to, find different things to do, especially in the winter when there's not much to do outside. But, for me, after that week, well, we had classes that following week. So, the first week of the semester, going to class and that sort of thing, getting ahead on schoolwork. But then outside of that, obviously not having the routine that I had for the last 22 weeks at that point of having football practice, meetings, and film. So like that, trying to fill that time with something else that was productive instead of just kind of, sitting around and just doing nothing. So that's what I challenge myself with. But yeah, I get bored really easily. Just when I don't have anything to do right away.
Let's go to Daniel Gallen, followed by Joe Smeltzer.
Appreciate your time this morning, Drew. Looking at the other quarterbacks in the room, what have you seen from Jackson and Gronk this year, especially given Jackson coming off injury and now Gronk going into year two?
Yeah, I mean they both done a really good job this spring. I think with them they're very competitive in what they do, and they get better every practice. They're still young, obviously, in when they since they've been here, but they've made a drastic improvement this spring through the first 12 or 13 practices, whatever we've been through now. It's been fun to see cool to see their development, and just the way that they are in the room. Like I think we have a really good quarterback room culturally, and that starts with Danny, obviously, running that room for us. And, I think we have a really good culture in that room where, there's obviously we want to be competitive and win in everything that we do, but we're also, taking the time to teach each other stuff, talk through what we're seeing, asking questions. And it's a really good room right now, and I'm really excited to see them to continue to develop just because they both have bright futures ahead of them.
Go to Joe Smeltzer, followed by Zach Seiko.
Hey, Drew, thanks for the time. So now that spring ball is almost over, going back to the start of practices about a month ago now, what was your biggest goal, and do you feel that you've accomplished that goal?
I mean, I had a lot of goals that I had for myself, but my biggest was, I mean, honestly, just overall consistency, just with everything that I do between routine, before practice, post practice, and, just the way I operate, throughout practice. And I think I've done a good job of that so far. Always trying to continue to build my leadership vocally, and just do everything that I can to put myself in uncomfortable spots to, allow me to grow more. And I think I've done a good job of that so far. And, it's something that I'm always going to keep grinding at, just because it doesn't come naturally to me at times. So, just keep trying to better myself with that sort of thing. So there's been a lot of things that I've been proud of through this spring cycle, but I'm excited to rewatch all this spring after it's done, and then also learn for what I need to get better at going into the summer and fall camp.
Let's go to Zach Seiko, followed by Tyler.
Hey, Drew, really appreciate your time. Losing a teammate like Tyler Warren is going to be monumental. So, how does the offense take a step forward when someone like him is not going to be back this season? And can you speak specifically to the tight ends, Luke Reynolds, Khalil Dinkins, maybe some other players that have stood out to you at spring practice?
Yeah, I mean, to start with Ty, obviously, wish him nothing but the best of luck this week. I'm excited to see where he goes, and he's worked really hard for this moment, so I'm really excited for him and his family. So I'm really excited to tune into the draft Thursday and see where he goes. But yeah, so for us offensively, Coach K always talks about it's the players that make the offense. It's not really the system. So finding out who are our best players, and who is going to get those touches. That's the ongoing process right now for us as a offensive unit. Just finding out what everybody's strengths and weaknesses are, and then also improving those weaknesses and putting those guys in positions to make plays for us this upcoming fall. But yeah, that tight end room it's a really special room. I think we saw it last year a little bit. Obviously, Tyler, got all the credit he deserved. But speaking on Khalil Dinkins, like, I don't think he gets enough credit for what he did for us last year. He's one of the best blocking tight ends in the country in both run and pass game. And obviously, he when he had his opportunities in the pass game as a catcher, he really made some tough contested catches for us throughout the season. So I'm really excited about where he's at in his career. And then also Luke. I mean, Luke's going to be a really good player for us. Obviously really new to the position of tight end, being a quarterback in high school for the majority of his career and then switching over to tight end. So, he's really just scratching the surface with his potential. But, I'm really excited about that whole room as a whole. Like, we have a really talented tight end room, and Coach Howell has done a great job with that room, recruiting and also developing those guys.
We got time for a couple more. Let's go Tyler and then Johnny.
Thanks again, Greg. Drew, just to ask you on a couple of your new teammates, Kobe Howard at wide receiver. We've heard some good things there. And then Coach Drayton had some good feedback for us on Tyke Hayes when we were out of the practice field last week. So if you could talk about what you've seen from Tyke at running back and Kobe at receiver, would really appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, to start with Tyke, I think he's a really eager kid to learn football. Like, he's a guy that loves football. You can tell it with the way he practices and the way he, carries himself in the weight room. The thing that really impressed me about Tyke when he first got here was he was, just asking me a ton of questions about the offense and wanted to learn it as fast as possible. And he's always around Nick and Fat, which I think is, good for him, just because, obviously Nick and Fat have done a lot throughout their career here. And just learning as much as he can from those guys is going to be, beneficial for him in his future. So I've been really impressed with him and just the way he carries himself and the attitude he brings to our team, especially on offense. And then with Kobe, I mean, Kobe can do, special things when you get him the ball. He can make guys miss, and he can go up and climb the ladder and really make contested catches. So I've been really impressed with him. He's had a really good spring so far. Now it's for him, it's going to be continuing to learn the offense and just refine his craft because he has a lot of potential, and I think he's going to do a lot of good things for us, not only this year but in his future as well.
Last question, Johnny.
Yeah, Drew, just following up on your answer from earlier, you were talking about Kyron and Devontae and how they've kind of acclimated to the room and they're good fits and great additions. What have they done specifically on the field that has impressed you so far this spring, and what stood out there?
Yeah, I mean, with those two guys specifically, I think it kind of goes for the whole receiving room, but just their want to and their give, they care a lot about football, and you can tell with, again, similar to Tyke, how they carry themselves in and out of the weight room, around the facility, how they interact with teammates, and the coaching staff. Like they really care about football, and I think that's the one thing about us as a program. Like we bring guys in that love football and just want to get better every day, and they're always after that 1% getting better. But with Kyron specifically, I think his ability to make contested catches has been really cool to see throughout spring so far. Obviously, we go against really good secondary every day, so just getting on the same page with him on you talking through routes before and after practice. And then same with Devontae. I mean, Devontae, again, similar to Kobe, like when you get the ball in Devontae's hands, he can make a lot of guys miss in open space, which, we need. So, he's done a really phenomenal job throughout this spring so far. So, I'm looking forward to, I mean, obviously building my connection and relationship with them going into the summer, but also the rest of the receiving room, like Caden, Ivy, Liam, like those guys have done a really good job throughout this spring as well. So I'm really excited about where that room's at and, where we're going to be at going into the summer.
All right. Thank you very much, Drew. Appreciate it, everyone.